Right now, emerging markets are at this huge turning point. And believe me, the moves they make next, they're going to send ripples across the entire global economy. So let's get into it and figure out why.
Okay, so picture a giant global chess match. That's really the best way to think about it. On one side of the board, you've got this incredible potential, right? Just massive growth, tons of innovation. But on the other side, you've got mounting debt, the fallout from a global pandemic, and these really intense market pressures. The stakes? They honestly could not be higher. So that's the big question we're tackling here, because, and this is the key thing, whether you realize it or not, their success is totally tied to our own.
All right, let's start with the absolute basics. What exactly are we talking about when we say emerging markets?
In a nutshell, these are countries that are really on the move. We're talking about places like Indonesia, Mexico, Nigeria, Vietnam, you get the idea. They aren't quite advanced economies yet, but man, are they growing fast and plugging themselves right into the world's financial system. And here's the real kicker, why this matters so much to all of us. I mean, because of their sheer size and growing influence, they've become, well, systemically important. They're what you might call anchors of global stability. If they do well, they act as this powerful engine for the whole world. But if they stumble, oh, those shockwaves are felt everywhere.
But look, it's not all smooth sailing. Not by a long shot. These nations are facing some serious headwinds at the moment.
It's really like a perfect storm of interconnected problems. You've got the lingering fallout from the pandemic, you've got debt that's just piling up, and you've got this urgent, desperate need to create jobs for these huge growing populations. And it's all hitting them at once.
So let's drill down on that risk a little bit. Take a look at this chart. It's showing us what percentage of a country's local debt is actually owned by foreigners. And wow, look at Indonesia. It's nearly 40%. And you can see South Africa and Mexico aren't far behind, with some really significant chunks.
Okay, so what does that actually mean in plain English? It means these economies are incredibly vulnerable to decisions made thousands of miles away. Just think about it for a second. Let's say the US Federal Reserve decides to raise interest rates. All of a sudden, big global investors might look at a place like Indonesia and think, that's a bit risky. So they pull their money out to chase those safer, higher returns back in the US. That sudden flood of money leaving the country, it can trigger an absolutely devastating financial shockwave. And then there's the jobs crisis. It's a real paradox, For a lot of these countries, their biggest asset is their huge, young, growing population. But that exact same asset is also their biggest challenge. How do you create enough good jobs for all those people? And this really gets to the heart of the dilemma. The hard truth is, for countries like Brazil and South Africa, the economy just isn't growing fast enough to absorb everyone who needs a job. I mean, we're talking about needing millions of new jobs every single year just to keep unemployment from getting worse. Forget about actually reducing it. Without some kind of major economic boost, that gap between people and jobs is only going to get wider. Okay, now you absolutely cannot talk about emerging markets without talking about the elephant in the room, China. For decades, China was the engine, the locomotive pulling everyone else along. But now it's standing at its very own crossroads. You see, China's long-term success story isn't really about its relationship with the rest of the world anymore. It's all about solving its own deep internal challenges. We're talking about the huge gap between its shiny futuristic cities and its vast rural interior. And then there's this massive demographic tidal wave that's coming faster than anywhere else in history. Just let this one number sink in for a minute. 400 million. By 2049, that's how many people in China will be over the age of 65. That is more than the entire population of the United States. I mean, just trying to support an aging population on that kind of scale, it's a completely unprecedented economic challenge. So what does that all mean? It means the old model, being the world's factory, has pretty much hit its limits. China's next chapter of growth has to be powered from the inside. It's all about domestic innovation, serious financial reform, and trying to heal those deep internal divides. So if China, the traditional engine of growth, is kind of changing gears, what's going to fuel the next big wave of progress for everyone else? Well, it turns out there are a couple of really fascinating and powerful new trends taking hold. First up, the green energy revolution. And listen, this isn't some far-off, fuzzy future thing. Just look at this table. The world's biggest car companies are going all in on electric, and they're doing it within the next decade.
Now, if you're an oil-producing country, that's a direct threat to your entire economy. But if your country happens to be rich in stuff like lithium or cobalt, or you're great at green manufacturing, suddenly you have a golden ticket to become a critical piece of a brand new global supply chain.
But this new fuel for growth, it isn't just about atoms. It's also about bits.
I'm talking about the digital creative economy. It's being powered by global streaming, and it's carving out completely new roads to prosperity. The growth here is just staggering. I mean, look at this chart. In India alone, streaming subscriptions went from 4.5 million to almost 60 million in just 3 years. And this isn't just about people binge-watching shows. This represents a whole new ecosystem of jobs for creators, for tech crews, for marketers, you name it. And this quote, it just captures the whole shift perfectly. It's from the creator of this amazing Nigerian Indian film that became a huge global hit on Netflix. It's this incredible democratization of culture and commerce. For the first time ever, a creator in Lagos or Mumbai isn't just trying to get a local audience. No, they're on the exact same global stage as Hollywood, and they're winning. So this brings us all the way back to that global chessboard. You've got these massive challenges on one side, but these powerful new opportunities on the other. So what's the winning move? What's the strategy? Well, there's no single magic bullet here. The path forward is all about making smart, fundamental plays. First, you've got to invest not just in roads and bridges, but in the software of a society, Strong, effective, transparent institutions. Second, you have to invest directly in your people. Better education, better healthcare. And finally, it's not about picking winners and betting on one or two industries. It's about creating an entire ecosystem where innovation itself can just flourish. And this is maybe the most important thing to remember through all of this. The future for these economies isn't predetermined. It is not written in stone. They have agency. Their success or their failure really comes down to the choices, the policies they decide to make right now. So we end right back where we started, looking at that chessboard. In this incredible high-stakes game, will these nations make the smart strategic moves they need to become queens on the board, powerful, decisive players that actually shape the future? Or will they stay as pawns, just being moved around by forces way beyond their control? The next move is theirs.